weaponizing children in the war against Israel. That's one of the tactics used by Hamas, along with commandeering hospitals as terrorist headquarters.
The latest revelations come as the Israeli government has proposed a plan for Gaza in the aftermath of the war. Julie Stahl reports from Jerusalem.
As fighting continues in the Gaza Strip, Israel is trying to come up with a plan for governing the volatile area after the war ends. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, the first senior official to go public with a blueprint, laid out a four-part plan. It includes ongoing Israeli military control of the overall security situation, a multinational task force led by the U.S., along with European and moderate Arab nations, to oversee civil affairs and economic rehabilitation of Gaza. Egypt takes responsibility for main civilian border crossings to Gaza, and existing Palestinian administration mechanisms will stay in place. The plan does not include the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which Israel says has worked lockstep with Hamas, nor does it include a return of Israeli communities to the Gaza Strip. The blueprint reportedly touched a raw nerve in more right-wing members of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, who opposed the forced removal of some 9,000 Israelis from their communities in the Gaza Strip 18 years ago. Many believe if those Israelis had not been pulled out, the October 7th attacks never would have happened. As the war continues, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his way to Israel for the fourth time in 3 months, expected to focus on trying to prevent the Israel-Hamas war from spreading in the region. Netanyahu met with visiting U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham Thursday, who said he was committed to bringing stability to Israel. Graham visited Kfar Aza, one of the 22 communities worst hit by the Hamas massacre on October 7th.
This attack was primarily motivated, I think, to stop the effort to reconcile between Saudi Arabia and Israel to build on the Abraham Accords. The brutality here was so strong and so visible, making it impossible for Israel not to respond. The destruction of Hamas is non-negotiable. Whatever it takes, as long as it takes.
And the Israeli military is pursuing that mission of destroying Hamas. Inside Gaza, the Israel Defense Forces raided a Hamas base that included a branched underground network connecting to an underground weapons factory.
There were a number of trap doors to make it difficult to get into. Behind the doors were explosive materials, machines and other tools, from which they created long-range rockets and other means of warfare used for carrying out terrorist operations for years on the territory of the State of Israel.
A day earlier, IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari noted that international intelligence agencies led by the U.S. are supporting Israel's findings on the terror infrastructure under Shifa Hospital.
Based on these intelligence agencies, these actions by Hamas are an indication of Hamas's terror activity and how they cynically exploit hospitals for terror and also for holding hostages.
Israel also exposed evidence that Hamas is educating children to hate Israel and Jews, something advocacy groups have been saying for years. In non-war times, Hamas operates summer camps where children learn to shoot weapons, storm tunnels, fight tanks, and kidnap soldiers. During the current war, Israel says Hamas has been employing children to deliver messages and ammunition to terrorists, knowing that Israel complies with international law and won't harm children. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
The international community needs to wake up to these war crimes, because that's what this is. When you use a hospital as a military base, where you're digging tunnels underneath it, building rockets, firing those rockets, and you're using the hospital as some kind of cover so there's no ability to attack what you're doing, international law calls that a war crime. Educating your children in how to kill people is a crime against humanity. There is no explanation for that. But that indoctrination has been going on, and I'll underline to Americans, with our tax dollars. Our tax dollars have gone to UNRWA, and UNRWA is responsible for those schools and responsible for that education. UNRWA needs to stop. It shouldn't exist anymore. It's just perpetuating warfare and terror against the state of Israel.